And joining me now from her home in Kelowna is Carina de Villiers, and from Montreal, Rabbi Bright. Thanks so much for being on the CJN Daily.
And thank you for having us.
Yes, thanks.
It's great to have both of you. Listen, let's start with Rabbi Bright to get a little of the sort of overview of this unusual number, such a large number of people converting. Can you tell us, in your experience in Canada, at least, if this is something that is a first, and if so, what was the normal numbers every year that we normally get?
I wouldn't say that it's a first by way of numbers, because many a year we'll have here in Montreal classes for conversion, which can be anywhere 15 to 18 people going through in a year. That's not the issue. What made this unique was where it was located and the number of people who were genuinely, with no ulterior motive, desiring to place their destiny with the Jewish people. That's what made it unique. And it really started off with one lady who contacted me saying she's been looking to convert, and she was given my name and would I work with her. And after just talking with her, I said I would, and she, I guess, spoke with her president, and her president said, well, hold on a second, why don't we see if we can put like an education program together? And then it sort of snowballed from there.
I'm sorry, you said with no ulterior motive. Can you unpack that for me? What does that mean?
So often we'll get people who will want to convert. It could be for marriage. That's the most common. It could be because they themselves perceive being a member of the Jewish community as beneficial to them, not only their spiritual goals, but materialistically. Not saying we would accept those type of people, but there are people who have ulterior motives for trying to join the Jewish people. I've had people that have wanted to convert so that they can go to Israel and be part of the IDF. I mean, it's for us, it appears crazy, but some people have all sorts of ideas. But in this case in Kelowna, each and every person had no ulterior goal other than becoming Jewish. They live there, they're there with their families, and in a number of the cases, they'd already been living a Jewish life, and they wanted to formalize their education and their observances.
Love to bring in Karina now. Karina, you are one of the graduates. What does one call? I mean, you are now officially Jewish, so Mazel Tov, first of all, on your conversion.
Yeah, it's been amazing. The knowledge. We always, me and my husband always had to depend on limited resources when it came to all the festivals that we had to do, and we've been in it for 22 years. It was always like, Christianity in between, and it was just so hard to find the Jewish way of doing it, and also finding Jewish people where we lived up in Grand Prairie, Northwest Alberta. To find community, or to find someone that was willing to work with us. And so, when this came up and we moved to Kelowna a year ago, and we went straight to the president, Stephen Finkelman at OJCC in Kelowna, he said, as a matter of fact, we start in October with the conversion classes, and you guys are willing, you are very much welcome to join. And me and my husband was just rejoicing, because we've been waiting for this for like 21 years at that point. And then finding all the material, the information, really to get to the root and to the heart of what Hashem wanted his people to do during, practices and customs and doing the festivals the way that he wants us to do it was amazing. And the fact that we knew that when we would be done with it, we would be able to have access to a community that would accept us, and we could, join them and become stronger become stronger for Israel, and to be part of the people of Israel.
But, did you hang out with Jews there, or were you aware of the Jewish community in South Africa at the time?
No. I always felt a strong connection to Israel since I was a little girl of 6 years old. And, but the only time I was ever in contact with a Jewish congregation, and I believe it was an Orthodox one, was I worked at a hospital, and right across the hospital in Victoria, there was this Orthodox synagogue. They have moved in the meantime. And I couldn't understand anything, and it was 4 hours long, and they only spoke Hebrew. And I was very frustrated and extremely disappointed because I wanted to know more, but I couldn't because of the Hebrew barrier, and and that's what I so like about this congregation, because they actually speak English. Imagine that.
So when you, Rabbi, I'm going to bring you back in now. When you meet somebody who wants to do this journey, who, like Karina, obviously this has been something that has been percolating. It's not I met someone, I have to convert to get married type of thing. When someone's motivated like this, what kind of discouragement would people be facing? And I'll say this because who would want to be Jewish in this day and age with all the anti-Semitism? It's not an easy road to hoe, right?
Exactly.
So
exactly.
What do you tell people? And then Karina, what do you know? How did you decide anyway to do this with all the anti-Semitism that's in the world as we speak? Okay, Rabbi first.
So, you bring up a very good point. Number one, we don't, just because somebody says they want to convert, it doesn't mean that they are actually an eligible candidate for conversion. So we sort of do a bit of a psychological analysis. That's the first thing. And then we want to know, what is it that motivated them to ultimately want to join the most hated club in the world? I mean, that is a harsh reality. We don't, you don't necessarily realize it, but I've had students today who have told me that longtime friends have left them when they heard that they were converting to Judaism. And so it's very sad. And so there is in our module, one of our modules deals with anti-Semitism and a very real possibility of what you are likely to experience. And as they're about to enter into the mikvah, which is the final step, when they're about to immerse themselves, the question is asked again. Do you pledge that when it's good for us, it's good for you? And when it's bad for us, you're with us?
I'm crying. So, Karina, can you describe that process? Do you take us to the mikvah? What was it like for you when you did this?
I just want to quickly just say, when we started through this process of wanting to become part of Israel, we did read that when the people came out of Egypt, it wasn't just the Jewish people or the Israelites, it was a mixed multitude of people. And that immediately told me that, Hashem also had in mind for the rest of the world to become part of Israel. And so I identified with that, and the idea of, it wasn't going to be all rosy. They had to face giants. They had to face high-walled walls to conquer. They had to be courageous. There was no place for cowardness. I wanted to be part of that team. And that would be Joshua and Caleb's team, I would say. And so that was a very serious thing for me. And I felt like, we only live a certain amount of years on this planet. I might as well make it worth my while, and go wholeheartedly into it. And so that was the thing. And, and we have lost our friends, wonderful friends. We have, my family, my mother totally doesn't want to speak to me anymore. Saying to her that I'm now 100% Jew, totally, broke her heart. So, so that was that. And so, of course, when I went into getting that mikvah done, and Elizabeth Bright was the one that was instrumental in helping us women through it. It was wonderful because, it's something to remember. It's not just for the fact that I did that, but that there was people that Hashem put in my life that was committed enough to help me through this process, and which I'm forever thankful for. And yeah, so then when I came out, it was, you know, I remember the day, I remember the experience, and I will be forever grateful that I could do it.
It's a miracle, honestly. It sounds like, I bet you when people hear this, they're going to flip out when they hear this. It's incredible.
But I got to tell you something, and it's the first time in my 30 years doing this, that on the Shabbat, each of the people that had gone through prepared not only to get called to the Torah, but to read their own aliyah from the Torah. Now, you tell me how many people can do that who are Jewish, period. It was a very emotional and moments of pride as they did that. They took part in both the Friday night and the Shabbat morning services.
Okay, so a couple of questions. Halachically, if you don't do it in a mikvah per se, is it still kosher if you do it in someone's beach lake? Yes? Absolutely.
And that any natural body of water, lake or sea, can be used. Although it might not be by some a preferred way of doing it, we prefer to have a fixed mikvah, but it's 100% kosher. Just like Jews who Jewish communities who live on little islands, you know, in the Caribbean, they don't have, so they use the sea. It's 100% kosher. There's no issue.
Second of all, what about like if they were going to go to Israel and try to get married? Is that Judaism? Is this Jewishness accepted as Orthodox conversion?
So the way it works is that there are two lanes that have to be taken. One has to be for immigration in Israel. The conversion is 100% acceptable for immigration. For the rabbinic group, it would be through either the conservative or the reform in Israel. They would get married. I'm not convinced that the rabbanut at the moment, the Orthodox would accept it. However, with what's changing now in Israel with the new government, we're hoping that would change too.
Listen, thank you both so much for sharing this incredible story with our listeners. On behalf of myself and the CJN Daily, Mazel Tov and congratulations. Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Shalom.